Last season on Timeless, where we ended things, was the culmination of, you've been learning about Lucy and the mythology of Rittenhouse, who has become kind of this, like, we're not really sure who they are, but they seem very politically minded and kind of wanting to create the future of America and of the world as they see fit. And so they've become our bad guys on the show, and we've been following Flynn through time. And where we leave off is that you find out that Lucy, who is our illustrious historian, is actually not only the daughter of a man who is in Rittenhouse, but her mother is like the lead villain of Rittenhouse. Like, her mother is Rittenhouse incarnate. Not devil incarnate, but Rittenhouse incarnate. So Lucy is pure blood Rittenhouse, which was a really big surprise twist. And where things left off is that Wyatt hadn't gotten his wife back. Rufus and Gia had started up a romance, and he and Mason were kind of at odds. And then what was going to happen next for Lucy, now that she has this information, was Rittenhouse going to steal her away, or try and get her to become a part of Rittenhouse, or was she going to be able to stay part of Time Team? Well, the basic premise of the show is that, what if time travel were real? And we have a character named Mason who owns Mason Industries, and he has created a time machine that works. And what the government has done, once they've discovered that time travel is real, is that they've taken it over and put together a team of a historian, a scientist, and a soldier to go back in time, following our bad guy Flynn, who seems to be trying to change things in the past. And so our team is supposed to preserve history as we know it. But as we go along, we find out that things aren't what they seem, and that Flynn may or may not be bad, and that the real evil is this organization called Rittenhouse, and we have to go back and try and stop them from really catastrophically changing our future. Yeah, so I play Lucy, who is the historian on the show and the daughter of a very famous historian. And she's kind of like the ultimate fangirl historian. Like, for her, celebrities are people from the past, from Abraham Lincoln to Josephine Baker to Ian Fleming to Bonnie and Clyde. So she's kind of your biggest fangirl possible, getting to meet her heroes up close and personal. And then as we get to know them and she gets to personalize them and humanize them, kind of see her reaction if we like who they are, or if she wishes that they would just stay historical figures in the past. So I think she's kind of our way in, because it's a dream come true for her. It's like all of her dreams are coming true, but it's in this really odd kind of puzzle, because now she's forced to go back and meet them to try and save the world. I'm so much smarter since I started shooting the show. Playing Lucy makes me seem so much smarter than I actually am, which has been great. It's been really interesting, because I do every episode is a history lesson. I've learned about facets of history I didn't know existed, and one of my favorite things about the show is that we actually explore history through the things that you really haven't heard of. Like a moment in time that really shifted the future. Like, for example, this season we have an episode about Robert Johnson, who actually was the godfather of rock and roll. But we kind of think rock and roll started in the 50s, with the Beatles, or with, going into the Stones. But he was actually in the 30s. And he recorded this one album that really shaped and affected, rock and roll as we know today. So that's what I like about the show, is that we kind of go back to this other thing that you didn't know about, something that we know about, but it's kind of this unique and individual thing that we explore. My favorite part about playing Lucy is the costumes, hair, and makeup. I'm not gonna lie. It's my mother made all my clothes growing up, and I definitely had an active imagination and was playing a lot of different characters. So to actually be able to infuse all of those childhood fantasies and dreams, and also the fact that I get to help I work very closely with our costume designer, Marian Cheo, who is brilliant, and we get to kind of have this creation of this character from week to week, and work very closely with Debbie Zoller, our makeup artist this season, and Jeannie Durinslet, who does my hair, and just to kind of create from the ground up like a a Lucy doll every week, and that's really fun. It's very satisfying. Well, so our time team, if you will, is Lucy, Wyatt, and Rufus, our historian, soldier, and scientist, who have kind of like this happenstance, kind of ragtag, time travel, preserve history team. But as things have gone along, we have Flynn, who was our bad guy, but now has moved in with us into our super secret silo because Mason Industries is no longer. And so now Mason and Agent Christopher and Flynn and our time team and Gia, who is our techie, we all live together and we're all like kind of tasked with this new mission this season, which is because Flynn is no longer our bad guy per se, or we're not sure, is that that Rittenhouse has dropped sleeper agents in every episode, and people who have been living amongst people they drop these agents who are from present day, drop them in the past, and they basically like live and maybe have families or lives, and they've dropped them in all these different areas, and we have to go back and try and stop them or find out what they're trying to do so we can hopefully save lives and not change the future too drastically. There's been a really good working relationship between Wyatt and Lucia, kind of I hate you, I love you, I hate you kind of relationship. And then last season in Bonnie and Clyde, they were undercover as kind of their, Lucy and Wyatt, these, these thieves on the run. And when they meet Bonnie and Clyde, they're basically, they have to keep their cover up and they share their first kiss. And it definitely kind of sparked something with both of them. But Wyatt has been looking for his wife. I mean, Wyatt's wife died well before season one, and all of season one he was really trying to find her. But now that we've kind of come into season two, and Lucy had a fiance she never met, and her sister is still gone. So I think through their brokenness, they've kind of started to become closer and heal each other. And you're going to explore that romance this season. But then there's a twist. I don't know how we do it every episode, but we do. We go back to a different time period every single episode and have all new actors, all new sets, all new costumes. And it really is, I would, arguably the toughest show on television to make. And I'm always amazed how we do it and do it with such artistry and beauty. But this season, in episode 1, we're going back to World War I. In the first episode, and then we meet Irene and Marie Curie, and then in episode 2 we go back to the 1950s to NASCAR. The NASCAR there's a race that takes place in South Carolina with this race car driver named Ryan Millerson, but we actually meet really the first and one of the most famous African American race car drivers, Wendell Pierce. So we get to know him and go on a cool ride with him, literally and figuratively. And then episode 3, we go to the 1940s and actually to the Paramount lot, which we're shooting on this year. And we have a behind the scenes, like old Hollywood episode, and meet William Randolph Hearst and Hedy Lamarr. And they kind of guide us through the things that we need to know to try and stop Rittenhouse. And, it's like all, like we're all in the studios and in the costumes. And the cool thing about that episode is actually we get to go to a party at Hearst's Beverly Hills house, and the dress that we made for Lucy is almost an exact replica of Katharine Hepburn's dress in Philadelphia Story. So it's kind of like she stole that one from the costume shop and wore it to the party, which is a huge dream of mine. I mean, Katharine Hepburn is like my idol and definitely a huge inspiration for the character of Lucy. So Marianne Cheo and her team of incredible costume elves worked round the clock to make this really, what I think it will be an iconic and historic dress. I really love my cast. I think, what we are tasked with is really, really difficult. And Malcolm Barrett and Matt Lanter and I work really well together, and Goran Vichnich, that's how you say it, Vichnich, he taught me, and Sakina Jaffe and Claudia Delmeade and Patterson Joseph. We all work really well together, so I think the days could be very laborious if we weren't, such good compadres on this journey. But yeah, I think, in hindsight from season 1, what I've loved is that so many young women watch the show. You know, I'm a mother. I have a 9-year-old little boy, and so when I take him to school, all the little girls are like, "Are you Lucy?" And I just love that we are able to tell a story about a woman who leads with her brain, that is super smart, that is a professor, and she's kind of becoming a superhero for young girls. I think that's one of my favorite things, and that we're a family show. You know, so many families sit together, watch the show. I get stopped by 8-year-olds. I get stopped by 80-year-olds sometimes at the same moment. And then that's been a great, I guess just a great chapter in my career, because I haven't really been on anything that was super family oriented, and I love that it's really the only scripted show on it's really the only scripted show on primetime that truly the whole family can sit down and watch together, and everybody learns something, everybody's entertained, and I love that about the show.